Greetings, my lovelies, and thank you for stopping by the circle today. No matter if you are brand new to writing or you've been writing for a hot minute like I am, you're gonna come across hundreds and hundreds of suggestions about what it means to be a good writer, blah, 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 blah. A lot of it is a mixture of like common sense and that's not gonna work for everyone type of scenarios. So to maybe clear some of that up, here are 10 things that you should probably keep in mind while you are working through your writing. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Number 10, thou shalt not write without a plan. Now I know that some people are pantsers and you write by the seat of your pants. I am not saying that you have to plan every last meticulous thing out. I lie somewhere in between pantser and planner. I'm a plantser. I have a generalized idea of where my story goes and I outline major plot points, but how I get from point A to point B, it's a mystery. It happens somehow. However, if you don't have a kind of an idea of how you want your story to go, if you're just writing and then writing off of your characters reacting to certain situations, one of two things is gonna happen. Either one, it takes you forever to finish anything. I'm looking at you, Game of Thrones guy. Or two, it's going to be very disjointed and chaotic, like my early writing. So even if you're a person who can just sit down and kind of just write and you go with the flow of how your story is going at that moment, having at least maybe an end game so that you can try to keep yourself somewhat on track is definitely going to help you out in the long run. Number 9, thou shalt not info dump. I was very guilty of this in my early stages of writing when I was writing fanfic. You just want to drop all the information and get on with your story. However, I can't stand reading that, so why in the hell would I be writing that as well? It is hard, I will admit, to get all of the little bits of information that are important about your world out and about. But there are several different ways that you could possibly do this without just dumping it in one paragraph. You could have a random character experience the city, for the first time, or someone getting off of the bus if it's an urban, a more modern story. You can do small bits of info dumps under the guise of lessons. We have people who are even in movies who they're just there to drop exposition and flitter about their way. But the best way to sort of show your world is really through your characters. Have your characters experience the world, slightly explaining some things here and there that while are obvious for the characters because they are in this world, not so much for the reader because we don't know this world. Again, keeping it small and not just like one giant paragraph or 3 pages of world building that no one really is going to remember. You can sprinkle it all through like your first act and then pick up again in your second act. Jumping right off of that, number 8, thou shalt not ignore your world. Even if you are doing a twist off of the modern world, you need to spend some time thinking about how the shit's gonna work. I'm not saying go into being like Tolkien and having like thousands of years of history that we'll never get to experience, but it's gotta make sense. Like, you're not gonna have a desert people have farming unless you discuss some irrigation systems. You're not gonna have mountain people just be raiders because they're in the mountains, and that makes a lot of sense. Like, you really gotta explain to us like why things work the way they work. Why are the people in power? Why are the people in the bottom? Like, it's just 30 minutes. Just spend 30 minutes thinking about your world and writing some notes down and going from there. You can always add to your world building as you go. I mean, I just did that with the Hidden Temple. Like, I had to like break some things off and so shuffle things around to make it work better. And then I ended up expanding upon my world when initially I didn't have any of that. So like all that's fine, but you gotta have a foundation. And if you want to know what those foundations are, you can go ahead and click this link up here where I have 5 little videos all about world building. Number 7, thou shalt not tell, but show. This is a hard one. I'm not gonna lie, even I struggle with this still, and I catch myself slipping into my bad habits time and time again. That's what the editing stages are for. But I know it's hard for those of us who are using words in the literary sense to tell a story. Like, technically it's all telling, But what they mean is, from my understanding, is that instead of saying Susie was mad, you describe the way that her face contorted, her brows furrowed, a flush came out across her face, and she clenched her fists. You know, something along that way. Break down the emotion to a physical thing that we would see and go, oh shit, I fucked up, type of scenarios. Even with love and with weather and just anything, if you break it down to the senses, that typically does help. However, not everything can be done, and sometimes trying to talk about every last little sense can bog down your story, and it's okay in small doses. However, using your 5 senses to set up the scene or the characters and the emotions really do help out a lot. And if you're still struggling with this, I highly recommend the thesaurus of emotions. Segued here. It has helped me out a lot. It gives you examples of what this would look like, the causes of it, some other emotions that may go along with it, as well as what would happen if someone suffered from this particular one for long-term periods of time if it is a negative emotion. But they do also do it for happy ones too, so there you go. Number 6. Thou shalt not have one-dimensional characters. Now, unless you're writing satire or something comical to that extent, there should be no reason for your characters to be one-dimensional. This basically means, yes, you have your protagonist, your hero, but give them some really big flaws that they have to overcome. Yes, your villain wants to destroy the whole world, but make us love him in some capacity, or at least understand where he's coming from. Yes, you have a big burly man, but he is very, very gentle and a nurturer. Yes, this woman is very feminine and beautiful, but don't you dare disrespect her boundaries because she will lay you flat on your ass. Humans, or people I should say, are not one-dimensional creatures. We all have facets to us. And so therefore your characters should have that same level of layeredness. Be the onion, as in Shrek. And you will get better with this with time and practice. And again, it kind of goes back to the whole world building thing. Spend a few minutes thinking about your characters, less about their physical attributes and more about like their positive and negative traits and what role you're trying to get them to play in the story, and how can you turn them from being a polished representation of that archetype to a more jagged, rough around the edges, maybe not quite fitting in as well. Number 5. Thou shalt not skip revisions and edits, whether you do these yourself or you have other people do them. Now, I know some people freak out when they say, you know, write your first draft and then do all the editing, revising later, and you're like, that's gonna be really huge and I'm gonna get burnt out. No, trust me, I feel you, I feel you. I am the same way. My last stage of editing is my novel in its entirety, and I fucking hate it. However, throughout the whole writing process, like between my first acts or first like 5 or 10 chapters, I stop and I go back to the beginning and I read over them and I revise and I edit, and then once my act is done, I send that out to beta readers. And then I start my second act, and then when they come back with their responses from the first act, I just store those away for my final revisions. See what I'm saying? You can do it in chunks, but don't skip it because you think it's going to be overwhelming. Now, when it comes to the final edits that you need to do before your manuscript is published, I understand that not everyone can afford an editor. Being able to afford an editor, especially when you are first starting out, is a privilege. Like, no, I get it fully. Like, money is tight, okay? But that doesn't mean you can skip it and not find some free alternatives. There are things like Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid. While they really should not be your final, if that's all that you can afford to do at the moment, that's fine. There's nothing to say that you can't go back later after you've maybe learned a little bit more or were able to sort of put away some money specifically for your novels to go back and revise them again. That's why first editions, second editions, and third editions happen in stories. So it's okay if you can't at this moment, but you should at least go back. But, nugget, caveat, you still have to go through and make your revisions. And if you can, let someone else fucking read your book before you publish it. Similarly, Thou shalt not strive for perfection on the first go. That's hard to do. I promise you. Like, there is not an author around who isn't still struggling to just get the shit out and go. One of the tips that I have found that really has helped is if there is a character or a plot point that I'm not sure of, or something that I know that I want to change and I have a weak response for that, I'll write the weak response, but then I'll put a comment off to the side because I use Google Docs about, hey, this needs to be fixed later, but I don't have the energy to deal with it right now. And then that way I can just continue to flow. Same as like, oh, I need to check to see if this was destroyed or not, and just keep writing like it is. And if I go back later and during my first little round of edits and realize that, oh yeah, I did kind of destroy this, then I can find another way to like maneuver it. But the thought process is already there. I don't get hitched up on like one particular feature, and I can continue to go without worrying about, oh, if I don't get this right, it's gonna be fucked up. Like, it's a first draft. It's gonna be terrible. Number 3, thou shalt not ignore marketing. I made this mistake with my first 2 books. I just released it, said a couple of things on Facebook, and just said, well, there it is. Yeah, no, it's not gonna work. If you want to make any type of go with writing as a profession, if you're hoping to be a self-supporting author, or even just, you know, get back what you've spent between the edits, the revisions, and the covers, and the formatting, and so on and so forth, you gotta do the marketing. It sucks. I hate it. It just makes it so awkward. It really, really is. I can never be a salesperson, but you gotta be. There are plenty of articles and other booktubers who talk about marketing. You can also check out on Skillshare, just get some ideas. But in a nutshell, very simplified, you need to start working on developing a platform before you really release your book. Just to have people kind of interested, or at least know who you are. And if you want me to go more in depth on how to develop a social media platform, drop a comment down below or leave a like, and then I will have that in my rotation. And just kind of look and see and find out what works best for you. Because what works best for someone else is definitely not going to work for you. But do not ignore it. Like, think about it. Like, there is a process to how things are released and the time frame in which it needs to be done to garner interest. And there's even time frames, like lifespans of books. So if you drop one down and do nothing for 8 months, it's no longer relevant. You can keep going back and forth and keep talking about your old books, and revamping your old books for like special editions or anniversaries. Like right now, I'm working on revamping my first trilogy, The Lost Guardian, for its almost 10-year anniversary. So yeah, that's some craziness right there. But anyways, don't ignore marketing. Number 2, thou shalt stick to one story at a time. Yeah. I'm not so good about that either. I have a lot of plot bunnies, but you have to find a way to get those ideas out of your head so that you can focus on your one project at a time. Some people can work multiple projects, and if you're that person, you are a fucking god, okay? I have tried and I failed miserably, okay? Miserably. I can only do one project at a time, although I can take breaks in between projects when they're larger to work on smaller projects, but I digress. Try to stick to one story at a time. If you have a great idea that you're like, oh my god, this is amazing, and you don't want to lose it, just jot it down somewhere, whether it's on a Google Doc, or a notebook, or sticky notes, whatever it is, just get that dump out and then go back to your OG project. Otherwise, you'll never finish. And number 1, thou shalt not stress. Writing is fun, or it should be. I write because I love to tell stories. I have a whole world in my head, lots of worlds in my head, and I love telling stories. I love also seeing people's reactions to my stories. Like, it's nice. Like, I like that I'm able to connect to people via that way. Writing can be a wonderful process. It can also suck. Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this shit. The more you stress about it, the harder it is it's going to be to write. It really, really is. It's like going to the gym. The more you think about not wanting to fucking go, you're not gonna go. However, if you go with it with a, well, I'm tired, but I might as well just keep it trucking because that's what's good for me, you're more likely to go to the gym. Like with writing, enjoy your world, enjoy your storytelling, enjoy connecting to other authors and to other readers and just, you know, getting to hold your baby in your hand. Enjoy the process, have fun with it, try new things, make mistakes and get messy like the great Miss Frizzle says. Because it's the only way that you're ever gonna learn. And writing and being an author is a continuous learning process. You are going to forever learn new shit. You're going to adapt your novels outside of your comfort zone. You may try adding in more characters, going towards a different genre. So there you have it. Those are my 10 cardinal sins, rules, whatever, of writing. If you found this helpful, please be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Not only do I offer writing advice, but I also review books. And I do character dives as well, ripping them apart to talk about their character traits, archetypes, and everything else. If you have something that you would like me to discuss on this channel, please leave a comment down below, let me know. I will have no problem adding it to my rotation. I am here for you guys. And if you want to see what else I'm doing around the interweb, go ahead and follow all of my social media links, which have been scrolling across the bottom of the screen, or you can check them all down below. And do not forget that my latest novel, The Hidden Temple, is out in the world! If you like fantasies with demons and found family tropes and LGBTQ flavors, this is your butter jam. So that is all that I have for you guys today. I hope you have a lovely week and I will see you all next time. Bye.